Welcome to Camp Nightwing. There are lots of fun activities. Just be careful. The stakes are high as a killer is on the loose. Hello, everybody. I'm Steve from VALHARTV, and today I'll be reviewing Fear Street Part 2, 1978. Well, it is 1978 at Camp Nightwing, and color wars are starting soon. All the campers are getting ready, as well as the camp counselors. So we get to see a lot of activity in the beginning of this. But even before this, we are quickly introduced to Ziggy as she is running from some of the mean girls that are at camp with her. And they end up tying her up to the hanging tree as they end up calling her witch throughout the whole movie. So they're saying that Ziggy is possessed by the witch, and they're blaming everything on her. And it's really just because they're kind of mean, you know. There's always that group of people at any place that are kind of mean to everybody. But yeah, after that, we get to see that this really big camp rivalry between Shadyside and Sunnyvale. So not only are we getting this really good camp movie, you know, because it starts out really good. We get to see Shadyside and Sunnyvale. So we get to see this rivalry go back long before 1994, like the first one. So there's a big rivalry. And at the, while everybody's at the mess hall, right? We get the Sunnyvale counselor. He gets up and he gives this great speech about crushing Shadyside. That's like the biggest thing for them because they have never lost the color wars. And then we get a do your best speech from the Shadyside camp counselor, and I cracked right up laughing because it was just hilarious. These speeches, they were great. And this gets all the kids riled up, especially on the Sunnyvale side. So I thought it was great. I thought that whole thing was great. And as like this stuff is going on too, we get to see Nurse Lane. She's the camp nurse, and we find out later on about her daughter. She ends up going like crazy, and she does something, and she has to be taken away by ambulance. So we really start to kick this thing off with that, and then we get 4 camp counselors who find her diary and start following it, and they go on this crazy, really cool adventure to find where, like, it's almost like where X marks the spot type thing. So it's really great. And then we end up getting to see an axe-wielding murderer appears and starts going on their killing spree. Deleting spree. I don't know if we can say that yet or not on YouTube, but yeah, dude, this is great. The kills in this, fantastic. Part 2 feels a lot more consistent in its tone and ideas, too, which I thought made this movie by far better than the Part 1. It manages to pay tribute to slashers of the past while developing the lore and the ideas of Part 1 in a much more consistent way as well. That was the biggest problem with 1, is it was a little jarring. It kind of was a little bit all over the place, and it wasn't consistent. This really pays homage to Friday the 13th and other summer camp slasher movies, which is fantastic. This made this movie so good. And Fear Street finally feels like it's living up to its premise, too, like with Part 2 here. It's far from perfect. Again, it's a little mundane for the plot, basically, because it is a slasher movie, and slasher movies have been done to a T before. So that's kind of what you get, though, when you get like a really good slasher movie, especially when it's paying tribute to other movies. But this is, again, by far better than Part 1. The makeup and costume department have dressed the sets up like literally appropriately, while the whole film feels more like a homage to all the old camp movies, like camp movies that even weren't slashers, you know. But everything felt like it was in place. All the counselors, you know, which leads me into like the music choices are much better implemented into this story than they were in the part one. And the acting was great in this. Everything and everyone felt like it was in 1978. It was in place, you know what I mean? And they all acted like they were really at summer camp. You know, at camp, they were being counselors. The kids were being campers. And I just wonder if they actually did stay at the camp, you know what I mean? And act like they were real campers, you know, because it was super believable. It was great. Fear Street had a rocky start with part one. But part two redeems it with a great slasher movie that, again, develops the lore more, and it's more consistent with it, too. Versus just kind of being like, oh, you know, like the first one is just running around trying to get away from multiple people when they don't really tell you much about the lore of it, even when the little brother goes in and starts talking about the, you know, the whole thing with Sarah Fear. So this, you know, and again, it pays homage to, like, homage, I should say, to Friday the 13th and other camp movies. It was great. I would give this at least a 7.5, 8 out of 10. Again, not a perfect movie, but a really good movie nonetheless, especially for being adapted from a kid's book. So if you guys like what I do, please hit the like button and also subscribe. Take care for now, everybody.